Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. Fading in, a gloomy Atlanta skyline. Rain clings on windows of high elevation. There are weak echoes of sirens far away. The morning is quiet most of the time. America loves to tell itself stories of tenacity, of second chances, of people from nothing fighting their way to the top. These tales run in high definition, draped in flags and hope, polished for public viewing. These are dreams with a screenplay. Then there are the tales we try to ignore. Those of people who pursued that dream, caught it, and then destroyed it from the inside. One of those stories is this one. Pedro Jimeno did not inherit luxury. Neither reared in halls of influence nor given authority. Born in the Dominican Republic, he was a young lad living in a modest house with weak walls, a devoted mother, and a family struggling for survival in a society that barely allowed upward mobility. Early on, hardship defined him rather than comfort. His initial teachings were etched in silence rather than taught in a classroom. Keep on. Say nothing. Want more. And he followed through as well. Pedro's meeting with Chantel Everett marked not only the start of a love story. That marked the beginning of an ascension. His link to another world was Chantel, with her vivid Atlanta life and Southern accent. And America saw their love develop via the voyeuristic prism of 90 Day Fiancé. Millions of people watched. Millions of people developed opinions. A few applauds. Others judged. Still, they all captivated each other. Pedro gained household recognition from familiarity rather than from fame. His account was real, passionate, chaotic. It was a crash of families, cultures, trauma, and trust. Pedro negotiated Chantel's disapproving parents, their furious arguments, and the developing fissures in their marriage as viewers watched. And Pedro portrayed the confused immigrant seeking to fit in through it all. Attempting construction. But truly, what was he building? Pedro did not fall when the marriage at last fell apart following the screaming, the tears, the allegations of betrayal. He developed. He left the screen and into the real world, forging a fresh identity in the real estate business. The informal attire and defensive stances were long gone. Their substitutes are confident smiles, custom suits, business cards bearing embossed text. Pedro the spouse was no more here. Pedro was the agent assigned to you. Pedro the triumph narrative. Atlanta observed him closing business agreements. Instagram caught him standing next to sold signage. He was to the public a phoenix, rising from reality TV and heartbreak into a self-made professional. A guy who had seized charge of his story. But beyond that gloss lay a deepening gloom. Authorities now claim that Pedro's ascent was motivated by deliberate dishonesty rather than only hard effort. Investigators say Pedro started focusing on women, vulnerable, hopeful, frequently enamored by his history on TV. He presented opportunities rather than just houses. Forward. Stability. Relationship. Women pulled into emotional and financial relationships that straddled the line between business and manipulation, seduced by his confidence, delighted by his attention, follow a pattern. He would discuss leading a life together. He would advise joint investment, sometimes gently and sometimes not. And suddenly, without notice, he would disappear. Others came away with empty savings. Others with contracts they found incomprehensible. All were left with was shame and uncertainty. Pedro's purportedly dishonest behavior did not stop there, either. Soon his own real estate company, the one that welcomed him, taught him, provided a stage, started to find disparities. False documentation, ghost purchases, commission checks misdirected. It was a betrayal of possibilities as much as of confidence. He had turned an entire system, not only changed hearts. And in March 2025 that system turned on him. The arrest came quickly. Early am, a peaceful neighborhood. Stunned, Pedro followed agents from the front steps of his residence in handcuffs. The man who used to pose for pictures now covered his face from them. The headlines burst like a bomb. Pedro Jimeno arrested in real estate fraud ring. Reality star turned conman. Shock, conjecture, and defense abound on the internet. Now far off from his orbit, Chantel Everett made no public comments. Those who recalled her sobbing breakdowns, her tired warnings about Pedro's dishonesty, started to view her not as dramatic, but as prescient. Pedro is now seated in a Fulton County jail cell, and the walls around him tell no tales of glory. Camera crew does not break the stillness. A A jumpsuit now replaces his suit. His calls on his phone are noted. He measures his food in portions. His future is dubious. Still, the tragedy in this is layered. Pedro Jimeno was not only a man who rose and fell. He was a mirror. He mirrored everything this nation values and despises: ambition, reinventions, hustle, seduction, treachery. He was the immigrant after something more, the lover unable to hang on, the entrepreneur who flew just too near the sun, and maybe the lad who never stopped believing that love was only another business. His defenders contend that everything is a misinterpretation. He became a target because of his notoriety, that the women were not misled, they were grieved, that the audit of the company was deficient. Considering this as a media spectacle, a witch hunt, still the data is growing increasingly overwhelming. Testimonies, financial records, notes from the secret, call recordings. One thing becomes evident as prosecutors get ready. When the judge sets dates and the courtroom filled with eyes ready to witness a fall finished, Pedro Jimeno might not be the same evermore. Not the man, rather not the name, not the moniker, not the narrative. Once he portrayed the untidy beauty of global love. Now he stands for the risk of hazy lines separating charm from dishonesty, between fraud and reinventions, between dream and hallucination. And ultimately, the worst tragedy might not be Pedro losing everything. Perhaps he never really believed in any of it starting with. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.